sure.
We are back on the Morning Brew with Friends, and I got my buddy Jason Espinosa. It's good to see you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
It's been a minute since you've been on.
It has.
And you're with Eric Lair, and also from ACI.
Right.
And I know you guys are revving up right now for the next legislative session. You guys are the statewide Chamber of Commerce, and you guys look at all the economic development issues statewide.
We do.
And I know you've been basically doing the roadshow, right? You've been going all around the state, talking to legislators, talking to constituents, figuring out what's going on. What are people looking at for the next legislative session?
You know, it's been interesting. I'll talk quickly about the process of how ACI works. We're a member-driven organization. So as you said, yeah, we hit the road about 18 cities in 14 days. It was quite a whirlwind. But we wanted to get
fun.
It was a lot of fun. We got to see a lot of New Mexico.
Yeah.
And we got to go to people's backyards and ask them, what issues are you facing? And then we have a policy committee process. One issue that everyone across the board is facing is increases in unemployment insurance rates.
Oh, right.
So we've heard our members anywhere between 30% up to 400% increases across the board. And really it's become an obstacle to economic growth here in the state. I had a lot of members say they wanted to grow this year, add employees, but this took it right out of the bottom of their budget, and they're not able to anymore.
Because I know that there was some kind of, I don't want to say scandal, but there was something that happened in that agency. And jog my memory on what that was.
So what really happened was the recession. When the recession came, there's this unemployment trust fund. It was up at $600 million before the recession.
And we were one of the champions of unemployment insurance. We were a model for a lot of states back in 10 years ago.
Right, and the recession just hit us. We went down to $30 million in that fund. So back in 2013, the legislature said, we need to do something to build that fund back up. So they, pushed forward some reforms. They took effect this January, and what happened is it had this effect where everyone's had to skyrocket.
Wow.
So we're just looking to provide some relief to our employers so that they can add employees and grow.
Do you go back to the old system, or are there fixes in the new system?
You know what? We're in the middle of conversations trying to figure it out. Right now there's this multiplier, and it just shot everything up. Can we smooth that line out maybe over 10 years and see how we can help these employers?
Right.
And that's really the power of ACI is we're able to have conversations. It's not me and Jason sitting in a room trying to figure out a good way to do this.
You two aren't just hammering your heads on the desk saying
Exactly. It's all coming straight from our member businesses. When I first started at ACI, I was amazed at how simple it is to get a policy priority on our agenda and get involved.
Well, you came from the government world.
That's right. Things move a lot slower over there.
Right. But what are some of the other issues? I know that that's a huge one. I know a lot of my friends are curious about what might happen with Uber and Lyft.
Right.
I mean, is there a chance that is that still part of the conversation, the ride-sharing services?
Oh, it certainly is part of the conversation. Actually, this is a good time, and I actually met with their general manager last week on Friday, and they presented before an interim committee and had very positive reactions. So I know they're looking to get a bill on the special session and during the session coming up and see if they can move it forward.
I know Monica Youngblood sponsored that last time. Is she basically the same bill or something different?
There may be some. I think it's gonna evolve, and we'll see what happens there.
Cool.
Some other stuff that we're working on is to really help the innovation sector here. So there's a lot of talk in Albuquerque about entrepreneurship, and as sort of the policy organization, we said, what can we do at a policy level to help that? And so we're looking at capital gains. How can we help companies that grow and start here and people that invest here keep their money here locally?
I think the big thing with startups in that whole world is finding capital and finding investment capital.
Exactly.
I mean, reducing the capital gains, sure, it helps the investors save a little bit of money on that. But what can you do to increase kind of on-the-ground investment? I mean, is there a policy strategy?
There is. There's the State Investment Council. ACI ran a bill in the legislative session last year to increase the investment here locally by the State Investment Council. They're allowed to invest up to 9% of the severance tax fund. They only want to do 5%. So we've been working with them, and we actually think there's been some great movement with the city of Albuquerque, Gary Opendahl, and others having that conversation, moving it forward. So I think we'll see something soon.
Great. Well, I know one of the big challenges with that, though, is it's a co-investment fund. So you can't get a company can't get investment from the state unless they already found somebody to invest. It'd be like, Greg, you'd be like one of your guys trying to find buy a house, but they can't buy a house unless they have somebody co-sign. And you know how hard that is. And that's essentially the problem that the startups now have, right?
Right. No, I think some of the proposals that we've been talking about sort of, address that issue.
Oh, good.
And allow other ones to sort of lead that effort. So
good.
We're excited about that.
We were talking a little bit earlier about the tourism stuff. The tourism numbers are way down. I know that's economic development policy strategy stuff in the state. People always forget that the tourism industry is an economic development industry because it brings in money from out of state.
Right.
And the latest numbers from the Sunport say the tourism numbers are way down. We're down almost, I think it's 30% from 2000.
Right.
And I mean, what are we doing about that? I mean,
Well,
is that even a concern?
You know, and it's a good point too. Economic development and tourism are linked,
Right.
and they really are. We had on our economic development policy committee a conversation about that, and our members actually said, let's move tourism up to the top. That's our primary thing right now. How can we support the budget increases that tourism department are looking at, so they can do more marketing in California, target certain cities to deal with these flight issues?
Right. Well, I think I think the numbers are pretty amazing. It's like for every $1 million you spend, you get $2 million back.
Right,
On
right.
tourism marketing, it's like, well, it's like free money is what it sounds like, you know? So why can't we spend more, right?
Right, no, exactly. You know, there's a great return on investment, and Jen Schreier over at the Hospitality Association has put together some great programs, and they're looking now to move that forward, and we're really supportive of those efforts.
That's very cool. What are some of the under the radar issues that you guys see kind of burbling up in the system right now? I mean, are there things that aren't dinner time conversation, but will be in about 6 months?
You know what? There's a lot, and that's again goes back to ACI's membership. We hear just on the street and having lunch with members and folks who have been involved for a long time. There's constantly a lot of different pieces moving around, and ACI again. That's where our policy document this year will likely have, I think, 400 or 500 specific policy recommendations and statements in it. And that's not to say that we'll get involved with 400 or 500 individual bills, but each of those just gives our members a chance to weigh in, and then as those issues come up, we immediately, as the business community as a whole, can engage in those really quickly.
Well, I know last year there was huge political strife in Santa Fe. Is that going to stop a lot of those issues from coming to fruition this year? You think there's...
I don't know that it'll be the political strife. A 30-day session by nature, you just have a lot less room to get much done, and there's a much shorter time frame. Everything's
well, last year they
packed
couldn't even get capital outlay passed.
Sure, absolutely, and that's an obstacle. And again, I keep tooting our horn, but we're good at that. ACI, a lot of our bills had both Democrat and Republican sponsors in the House and the Senate, and so while everybody else was kind of suffering from this gridlock, we actually got, I think, 16 of our bills all the way through, which was a great success and speaks volumes about what happens when you've got the business community as a whole on board and working together. Awesome. Well, ACI.org, you can find out everything about what these guys do, and we'll see you guys hopefully again before the session.
Yeah, sure.
And during the session,
come on in and
update.
we'll talk all about all this political stuff, and we'll be back in a couple of seconds. I think we got some veterans back here we can talk to.
Terrific.
I know. This week it's great, right?
It is.
Back on the Morning Brew with friends.